Jesse Puljujarvi has signed a new contract on a one-year deal, except it's going to be in Liiga for next season. And we also have some updates on some other young players, including Josh Ho-Sang, Moritz Seider, and other Detroit Red Wings prospects. We'll get into all the latest on those players coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some news finally on Jesse Puljujarvi of the Edmonton Oilers, except it's not the news we're looking for. He has signed a one-year contract, but it's not with Edmonton. It is with Karpat to remain in Liiga for next season, but overall it is a smart move on his part so he can continue playing sooner rather than later with the 2020-2021 NHL season likely not getting started until December. Obviously, a lot of these players that are especially younger guys looking to make their moves here in the NHL are not going to have an opportunity to play, and obviously it's good for him to be on the ice and playing so he's not sitting around waiting too long to kind of improve his value, increase his odds of getting an NHL contract, whether it be with Edmonton or any other NHL team for that matter. He has negotiated in an NHL out clause, however. So the good news is that when the NHL season starts up, if he either signs with Edmonton or gets traded and signs with another NHL team, he can be out of that contract and go to the NHL when training camps open. So we're going to have to wait for further information on what his future is going to hold. However, Jesse Puljujarvi has been quoted recently, which we discussed on the channel in the past couple of weeks, that he seems to be softening his stance on a potential return to Edmonton. He said basically that he wouldn't rule out playing for the Oilers in the future, that he's kind of changed his mind on a few things and he's seen a different point of view, and that maybe playing in Edmonton is something that could actually happen after all, given the fact that they have a new general manager, a new head coach, and things seem to be quite a bit different than the last time he played for that organization. So that's, pretty substantial news. Jesse Puljujarvi was, of course, a 4th overall pick, came into the league with a lot of high expectation and didn't really live up to things, but many people have the argument that the Oilers didn't really handle his development properly, and I do think to some degree that did have an impact on things. It kind of, obviously didn't get the success he was looking for, didn't like the organization's trend and how they were going as a team, and just kind of soured him on the whole idea of playing for the Oilers. But things are quite a bit different now. We have a new GM in Ken Holland, new head coach in Dave Tippett. Obviously, last season was terrible for the Oilers, but this season has been much better. The Oilers haven't quite qualified for the playoffs as of yet officially, but they certainly are in the play-in series against the Chicago Blackhawks, and if the NHL season could have finished out as we normally would have had, they were in well positioned to clinch a normal playoff spot. So from that perspective, they did have a good season overall, and right now they're tied 1-1 with the Blackhawks, but we'll see how they finish that. But obviously, Puljujarvi could be a big part of the Oilers' future. I mean, they do have a little bit better depth on the wings now than they did even a season ago. Obviously, they've had some big-time emergence. They saw a huge season from Leon Draisaitl. They got Connor McDavid, arguably the best player in the world. Kailer Yamamoto has really taken some big steps forward to play on Draisaitl's line for the most part. Nugent Hopkins can play with either line. They have Zach Kassian playing up a lot in the top 6, but that's not a spot to me that's really rock solid. I think of a guy like Puljujarvi or any other younger player who could really take that from him could be a possible spot for them, or even if there's always third line duty in the beginning, of course. But of course, Dave Tippett's going to expect a solid 200-foot game at a Puljujarvi and expect him to be defensively responsible. So we'll see what happens with Jesse Puljujarvi, of course. But now we at least have a little bit more clarity on his future. At least we'll be able to see him play in Liiga this fall when their season starts up as normal, and then we'll see if he can get a contract with the Oilers to come back to North America and give it another shot, or if they do end up trading him. Personally, I think if he's going to be traded, I think it's going to happen at the 2020 NHL draft, because they're likely going to get other draft picks or another younger prospect coming back the other way, and that would be a prime opportunity for that to happen. So if we get through the NHL draft and he's not signed or traded, I still think it's a better opportunity that he will end up being signed than being moved on. But let me know your thoughts on the future of Puljujarvi. Will it be in Edmonton or elsewhere? Now, we had some other news as well today, finding out that Josh Ho-Sang of the New York Islanders, obviously somebody who's been with their organization a long time and has not panned out, really struggled during his brief NHL career, played a lot in the minors, and it appears as though his days with the Islanders are pretty much over. At one point, he had gone home and wasn't playing. He kind of got tired, I guess, of playing in the minors, thought he deserved more of an opportunity and wasn't getting it. And I know the Islanders haven't been thrilled with his development or his attitude at times. And right now it looks as though he's heading to the KHL. There were reports from Dave Pagnotta, the fourth period. That is indeed the case and will be happening, but he won't be officially heading over there until the Islanders season is completely finished at this point. So we'll have to see, but obviously it looks as though his days of being an NHL star are likely over unless he goes to the KHL and does exceptionally well and in a couple of years' time looks to make a comeback. But to be honest, I just don't have the very much confidence that that's going to happen. At one point, Josh Hosang was really considered to have a ton of skill, but it's just there's a lot of other intangibles with him that's impacted his career, and just don't see it happening. So it's probably good for the Islanders to be moving on from this troublesome player that's caused them nothing but headaches really ever since he's been drafted. Now, the other updates today we have is on some Red Wings prospects. We finally got confirmation that their top prospect and first-round pick from last year, defenseman Moritz Seider from Germany, is going to be heading back to remain in Germany for another year. Of course, he played in the American Hockey League in North America this past season, had a really solid rookie year, I thought. For considering his age and everything, I thought he did really well, and he certainly appears to be well on his way to developing and becoming a regular NHL defenseman in the near future for the Red Wings. But obviously, again, like these other guys we're talking about, for younger guys that are not fully established, they're not going to have a place to play in North America right away, and we're going to see more of these guys trying to find at least a temporary home over in the European League so they can get on the ice and get playing and continue their development while they wait for NHL hockey to be back to somewhat, as we used to call, normal here. In the case of Moritz Seider, he's going back to Adler Manheim, where he played in the DEL before being drafted. So obviously a lot of familiarity there for him, and it makes a lot of sense. Again, like Puljujarvi, though, he does have an out clause. So when the NHL season and training camp is getting underway, he'd be able to be released to go to Red Wings training camp. And then I guess they can decide from there if he'll either make the Red Wings team, if there's going to be an American Hockey League season, do they want to put him back there, or do they want to let him finish out the season in Germany and then give it a shot to come over full-time the year after? They can make that assessment after training camp and see where everything's at with him on an individual basis and decide from there. Now, Red Wings have also announced previously that we had touched on in a prior video that other prospects like Joe Veleno and Filip Zadina appear to be heading to play in the Czech Republic. Of course, Zadina's originally from the Czech Republic, so it makes sense for him to kind of head home. He did his junior hockey in Halifax. Of course, in the QMJHL, where Joe Veleno didn't play in Halifax, but he played in the Q, mostly for the St. John Sea Dogs, but was traded before his draft year was complete. And obviously, both those guys need to continue developing. They both have potential to be big roles for the Red Wings moving forward. And if they can get on the ice and get playing this fall while they wait for North American hockey to kind of get back to normal, that would be great for their development. So the Red Wings are on pace. Yzerman seems to be ahead of things, getting these guys a chance to play. And I won't be surprised if we see many other NHL teams do the same thing. We already had confirmation that the AHL was delaying their season until December, like the NHL. And then we got confirmation today that the East Coast Hockey League, which is basically, your tier 2 of semi-pro hockey below the American Hockey League, that they're delaying their season as well. So none of these guys are really going to have an opportunity to play in North America until we get closer to December. Same thing with major junior hockey. It looks to be heading in that same direction. So I guess we'll see what happens here, but these prospects need a place to play, and we have a little bit more clarity in some of their future. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments and we can discuss further. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.